God, Jesus coming into your room.
All of a sudden, I start seeing people walking around.
You spoke to the
Yes,
Paul
I did.
and the David.
I said, what did God do in you to get you from shepherd to king?
Wasn't expecting to see a friend there.
No.
Tell us about that.
That was Greg. He lives in Calgary, Alberta.
He's alive.
Yeah, he's alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember I looked up and over to my right, and I saw Pat walking towards me. He goes, "Hey, Greg, good to see you here." And I said, "Hey, Pat." And I was about to say, "We're in heaven."
Greg, I said, I'm going to be back in Edmonton on Thursday.
Yeah.
He looks at me and says, Pat, he says, we're in heaven and you're talking about Edmonton?
I want to ask the big question. Why would God let you into heaven? What was the purpose of it? Hey friends! I want to thank each and every single one of you for helping out our new channel by watching and subscribing. I especially want to thank those who've taken the time to leave comments after watching. Your encouragement means the world to us and has truly helped us make improvements. If you have a miracle to share, please DM us on Instagram or leave us a comment below. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to see his signs and wonders every week. This was at 16, you're saying. You were in a deep, dark place, and the word came to you, and you had mentioned God, Jesus, coming into your room. I want to talk about your heavenly visits. When you had your first encounter, did you think, okay, that was it? That was the last one. I don't think I'm ever going to see him again. Or did you think, wow, I wonder if he's going to come tonight? Or was there like an expectation that show up? With Jesus, to show up in your room again?
In my thinking, that was a one-time shot.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought too.
Yeah.
How fast forward do we have to go to your heavenly visit?
That came probably within a year later.
Wow, were you shocked? Like this is happening again, but this time?
This time, well, what happened was, to kind of back up a little bit, I was really starting to learn how to really worship the Lord for the first time, other than singing a song.
Yeah. Tell us about worship, just real quickly.
There's a big difference between singing in a song and really worship from the heart, right? So got into this routine. I don't know why I was doing it. I just lay out on my bed and I said, Lord, I'm just yours, and just worship you. And I started feeling this presence fill the room. It was like this warm blanket. That's what it felt like.
Like a tangible.
Yeah.
Right.
It felt tangible. And the more often I do this, the stronger it get. And this progressed over a period of months. And what happened was I started realizing that I felt like I was in two different places at the same time.
Okay. Explain. Where were you?
I didn't know.
Okay.
Right? In the beginning, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I felt like I was being lifted. It almost felt physically.
And you were, when you're
and
worshiping.
I had my eyes closed.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
I was sitting there with my eyes closed. And at times it felt like I was physically coming out. And I'd look and I was still on the bed.
Yeah.
But it felt like I had this feeling inside like I was lifting somewhere. It was really strange. I didn't know what to make of it. I knew it wasn't bad.
Right.
Okay. And then all of a sudden one day I saw the lights kind of came on. I'm like.
While you were closing your eyes.
Yeah.
They got bright.
And then I opened my eyes, and all of a sudden I'm seeing stuff.
What are you seeing?
Like open vision kind of thing.
Okay.
When my thinking, I'm in open vision, right?
Right.
Open vision is where you got your eyes open, but you're seeing watching a movie. And I'm going through this, and I'm thinking, wow. And then all of a sudden, I start seeing people walking around.
Where were you? Out in the open, in a city? What were you seeing?
I was in a city, but in a garden area.
In a garden area.
In a garden area.
Okay.
And I'm looking and I'm seeing the sights and sounds of what I think is a vision. I don't realize I'm in heaven yet.
Yeah.
But it felt like I had this feeling inside like I was lifting somewhere. Boom, gone.
The vision was gone, or what you thought was the vision.
And what happened started progressing after that. I started seeing more, and then I started hearing more. Till it was an immersive experience.
Tell me the first time you realized where you were.
The first time?
Yeah,
where you actually met somebody.
Oh my goodness. Okay, tell us about, who did you meet?
There was this David
and
Paul on the same trip.
David and Paul?
Yes. David and Paul.
David and Paul.
The David and Paul. The David and Paul. Yes, I did.
Okay, I have so many questions.
This is the first time I'm actually telling this stuff.
Yeah.
Other than in a private conversation.
It's amazing. I mean, first of all, what does heaven look like for people?
Heaven is made out of light. Everything is light.
So the streets of gold.
Streets of gold. It's like glass with a gold tint.
I see.
Okay, it's not like metallic gold. What we see is metallic gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not what we see in this earth is gold.
Right.
Okay.
Now there is stuff there that is that, but the streets, it's like you can see through them.
Right.
It's like a bright glass, but you can see down in it, and you got all these colors running through it. The thing about vision and hearing in heaven is you've got, if the spectrum, and I've talked to people that understand this, they understand this in theory. I've experienced it. If you've got the spectrum, down here is sound, over here is light.
Yeah.
It's part of the same spectrum. Okay. In heaven, you can see sound and you can hear light.
You can see sound and you can hear light.
Because up there, sound and color are together.
That's amazing.
Light and sound are together. The colors and sound are together.
Are you able to see your own body? Are you light, or do you have a physical being?
You are light. You have physical attributes. You have arms, legs. It's like you look like you look here, but you look like you're in your early 30s.
Wow, is that how old everyone is in their early 30s?
Except for the ones that either died when they either passed over into heaven when they were a baby and a child. They grow up there.
I see.
Okay.
They grow up there.
They grow up there.
So they come as babies and then they grow there to that stage.
So that grows there to that stage. If you're an old man, you're gonna
age backwards.
Yeah, you're gonna age backwards.
That's amazing.
Basically, yes.
Can I ask? I know all the pet lovers out there. Are there?
There are animals. Yes, and you can communicate with them.
Wow. Oh, that's the other thing. How do you communicate? Is it by word at this point?
Your voice, your spirit man has a voice.
Wow.
And that's how you can talk. And you can do it this way too. Okay. But most of the time it's spirit to spirit.
Can you describe the feeling up there? What's everybody doing? Are they just all worshiping God? Is there something to do
because there's
there?
no time nor distance in the spirit. Okay. You never get bored. You've got incredible eyesight. You have telescopic eyesight. You have microscopic eyesight. So you can look into a flower and see how it's made on the molecular level.
It's like Earth, you're saying, because there are flowers, there's a garden area, there's a city.
It's the difference between a light bulb that's on and a light bulb that's off.
We're in
the darkness here because of the fallen state. There, the light bulb's on. Your body produces light. The trees produce light. Everything that grows there produces light. All the buildings that are there produce light.
Wow, and they're building.
Everything is light. The word says there's no shadow of turning. There are no shadows in heaven. There's no darkness at all.
So there's no night.
There's no night.
There's just day.
Just day.
Why do you?
But you don't have a sun.
That's so odd to me.
Because the light comes from the sun.
How beautiful is that city? Is there anything like that on Earth so that we can have some sort of imagery?
I cannot describe that.
Wow.
The feelings that you have when you're there, it's like you get the winds of the spirit blowing and it blows through you and fills you at the same time. It's like an existence on a totally different plane.
I want to go back to Paul and David. You spoke to the
Yes,
Paul
I did.
and the David.
Now, when you're there, you only are allowed to speak after you've been spoken to. It's a thing of honor. Right? There is protocol in heaven.
Wow. Okay.
People don't understand
Sure. Rules, regulations.
Yeah, there are rules.
Yeah.
There's the rules of etiquette there. And so I was allowed. David always mystified me how he could be so used of the Lord and yet have the issues in his life that he had. I mean, murderer, adulterer, and yet God didn't reject them. What did God do in you to get you from shepherd to king? The answer brought a lot of revelation to me.
Okay.
He said, the king was formed and made in the wilderness tending the sheep. Everything that he needed for leadership was learned. All the skills that he learned. He conquered his fear with the barren lion. Goliath was his reward, not a challenge.
Wow. Because how many of us are in that journey tending the sheep right now and thinking, this isn't important. I don't know what I'm doing
That's
here.
what I call the low call. The low call, if you're faithful to the low call, it prepares you for the high call. He didn't try to cut corners on it. He didn't buck against it. He went through that process.
That was a great question,
And
by the way.
And that is what qualified him.
Right. Pat, I want to ask the big question. Why would God let you into heaven? What was the purpose of it? Because people are going to want to know, well, why Pat? Why, because a lot of people want to see heaven.
Here's the thing about it. Don't blow some minds here.
Yeah, do it.
People want us all to go. God wants all people to go.
Amazing.
All Christians.
So,
okay.
Now
I can prove that in a word. Go to Joel chapter 3. What does it say? Let the mighty men come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. I did a word study. You know what valley of Jehoshaphat means? The throne of God.
The throne of God.
That's what it means. I was reading that one day. I said, how in the world do you go up to a valley?
Yeah.
It means the throne of God.
Yeah.
We're seated with Christ in heavenly places. That's not just positionally.
So you're
And then
saying...
you got Revelation chapter 4. Behold, I have set before you an open door. Come up here.
So you're saying he wants all of us to, what is the purpose of that? To show us his glory?
Well, it's not just that, but it also does a work in us.
What works does it do?
It shows you his unconditional love.
Right.
Okay. He wants a cohabitation. He doesn't want to come visit.
Right.
He wants us to visit him.
But you didn't ask to go.
No, I did not even ask to go. Now, I'm the last one to say that when you do go, you're going to see and hear some people I've run into. They're going, they're not seeing and hearing. There's no guarantee on that. That's up to God. That's not our choice.
Right. Did you see anybody else there that surprised you? Speaking of people you saw,
I got to meet my deceased aunt that had passed away many years before. And I got to have a lengthy conversation with her. I learned things about her I didn't know at the time. When I first came back and told my mom what had happened, she thought I lost my mind until I started talking to her about her own sister about only things that my mom knew. And she knew I had no way of knowing.
Did you encounter anybody, because we all have loved ones that passed away who were unbelievers.
Yeah.
Did you encounter anybody that was an unbeliever that accepted, that you didn't know, that accepted at the last minute?
No, I did not.
You haven't.
I did not. There was only a select few of believers that I've met. When I was there, I was kind of like under the direction of the Lord. I wasn't just
wandering around. Yeah. Wild and free. Right. I understand. And you mentioned that you saw somebody in conversation that we had earlier that you wasn't expecting to see a friend there.
No.
Tell us about that.
That was Greg. He lives in Calgary, Alberta.
He's alive.
Yeah, he's alive. My wife and I were living in Canada at the time this happened for a brief couple of 3 years. We wound up coming back to the States to do some ministry down here. And in the midst of one of these ministry trips, I again find myself in heaven and I run into Greg. Now, he and I are friends here on terra firma, in the earth. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, that's Greg.
What are you doing here?
And that's exactly what I said. What are you doing here? He says, sometimes I come here when I worship. And I say, hey, Greg. And we're in what I call the Pavilion of Redemption. I don't know what else to call it. I don't know if that's the official name. That's just kind of what came to me when I was there. Mm-hmm. And it's got 12 pillars in it.
Okay.
These are huge, massive pillars about the diameter of this table right here. And each one, you put your hand on it, and each one releases revelation about the work of the blood.
Can you give us an example? What does that look like?
Well, yeah. It is all powerful. There's nothing that won't cover.
What?
There's nothing that won't cover.
What do you mean?
And not only that,
sickness, sure,
yeah,
for sure, healing.
but there's nothing that doesn't cover. It is all encompassing. It is the final sacrifice. Here's the thing about it. When we condemn ourselves, when we miss it, if we sin, if we fall into sin and we're condemning ourselves, we don't have that right. Mm-hmm. And that is the revelation I didn't tell you earlier. That was what was in that pillar.
You mean it separates you from that? You. Yeah.
Right? And so I put my hand on that thing when I was there one day. I'd been living in a lot of regret because of stuff that I'd gone through in the past, mistakes I'd made. And it was starting to consume me, really started eating at me.
Right.
Pat, you should have known better. Mm-hmm. And I was living in a lot of regret. And the Lord was trying to shift in my life where he was trying to bring me in a new beginning, but I was missing the boat.
Yeah, because you were hanging on to that.
I was hanging on to the past. Yeah. Paul talks about forgetting those things that lay behind. Yes. It's important.
It is.
Very important.
Very.
It was like blood. The revelation I got out of that one pillar was God not only forgives our sin, he forgives our mistakes. Mm. And I needed that so bad. Right. The Lord showed me out of that. All of a sudden, I realized I didn't have a right to live in regret any longer. That was not my right.
That's so powerful.
So Greg is there. I said, hey, Greg, put your hand on this pillow, see what you get. He was getting the same thing. I could see it in his eyes. When you're there, you look into a person's eyes, you can see, you can see them, and you can see the revelation they've got.
Wow.
Okay, and it was going into him, and he's going, wow, that's amazing. I said, yeah.
And there's 12 of them,
12
you're saying. And this is just one of the pillars.
It's just one of them.
Are the other pillars doing something different?
They all contain different aspects of it. I'm standing there watching this with him, and we continue to converse about what he just got, right? And then all of a sudden, I said, Greg, I said, I'm going to be back in Edmonton on Thursday. Yeah. He looks at me, he says, Pat, he says, we're in heaven and we're talking about Edmonton?
I come in on this Tuesday, and I'm looking at the base of the pillar, and I remember I looked up and over to my right, and I saw Pat walking toward me. And he looks at me and goes, hey, Greg, good to see you here. And I said, hey, Pat. And I was about to say, we're in heaven, you know. He goes, hey, why don't you tell everybody that we're not coming back on Thursday, like we said. We're going to come back next Tuesday. So would you tell everybody that? Took me over to that pillar at the base of the pillar, showed me all that ornate scroll work. And he said, here's what he wants you to know, is that his redemption covers all the details of your life, including your mistakes. Yeah. Hey, brother. Hey, we'll see you next Tuesday. You know, and off he went. And I'm thinking, we're in heaven and we're talking travel plan. You know?
Just telling me your schedule, just like it's nothing. That's weird. Because everybody thinks when they go to heaven, they see their, passed away relatives, someone who's died in the past. But it's so interesting that you're seeing somebody, your friend from another part of the world, alive, and you guys are talking about travel plans and schedules. Yeah. It's amazing.
Fun. So Thursday came and went. They didn't come back. Tuesday came, and they arrived back in Edmonton. And then on Friday, we had them over to the house. And so on Friday, I tested him. I said, Pat, what were you doing last Tuesday? And he said, I was talking to you in the Pavilion of Redemption. I said, okay. What'd you say? He said, I showed you the base of the pillar and showed you all the ornate scroll work and said that the redemption of God covers everything in your life, all the details of your life, including your mistakes. And I was like, okay. I got excited. I really did. I was like, I'm done doubting. I'm done with doubt of these experiences.
I get to Edmonton and I get this kind of a frantic call from Greg, and I can tell he's got something going on in his voice that got me wondering. And he sounds a little bit off, and I'm thinking something's wrong. Okay. Pat, I got to talk to you. I've got to talk to you. So I go over there. My wife's over there. He's already, unbeknownst to me, he's already told his wife about what happened. Mm-hmm. And he starts talking to me. He says, I had something happen when you were gone. He says, I met you in heaven. He kind of looked at me like this. Yeah. I let him go into the story a little bit, and I play him a little bit. I act like I don't know what he's talking about, because I'm a little bit devious that way.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him on this. And all of a sudden I said, Greg, stop. Don't say another word. And I said, do you remember the pillar I showed you? He had a meltdown on the spot.
Because he thought it was a dream or a hallucination or whatever.
Yeah, well, he knew, but he didn't realize. I think he understood inside.
Well, but it's a shocking thing when
Yeah,
you
it's a
first
shocking
go.
thing.
You always wonder, was that real?
And he
or was
starts
I-
sobbing uncontrollably. He's crying. He physically collapsed to the floor. And I'm watching him go through this, and I realize what's happening. He's crossing over from concept to reality.
Yeah.
He's realizing how real this is. And I finally look at him and say, Greg, it's all real,
Yeah.
right? It's not a figment of your imagination. It's not a dream. It's not all this stuff that our minds try to
Make sense of it.
make sense of it,
course,
right?
Yeah.
And he comes up and he's crying, and then all of a sudden he starts laughing hysterically, like in hysterics.
Yeah.
And
I
he's
would be
like,
too.
oh my God. He's going, oh my God, it's real. Oh my God, it's real. It's real. I said, yeah, it's real. It's as real as you and I sitting here across the table from each other. This is how real it is. When you're on that side, this seems like a dream.
At one point, I was looking at all the NDEs, near-death experiences, and a lot of people say that this doesn't feel like reality now after being there because it's so real and the colors and the sounds.
It's so dimensional. Here we see and experience 3 dimensions.
Yes.
There it's multiple dimensions at the same time. And I cannot put it into words. I don't have the words for it.
You know what's unique about your heavenly visit, Pat, is that you have a friend that was actually there with you,
Yeah.
and he's still alive. You
Yeah.
both are.
Yeah, he's
as
got a
you can
ministry
see.
right there.
Yeah, and you see him, and it's like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
That's
shock
amazing,
to both of us.
So now you're both, and coincidentally, I don't think this is who you're doing the 2 witnesses with.
No.
Pat has a vlog, like a video on
Yeah.
YouTube, like a
Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
video
yeah.
podcast called 2 Witnesses. So check it out.
Just look up 2 Witnesses broadcasting. You'll see my face there. And,
Did you see anybody famous there that has been deceased?
well, yeah, David Paul.
Yes, David and Paul.
We
Okay.
we did not cover Paul.
Yeah.
Paul had one question. What are you doing with the gospel I gave my life for? He knew I was a visitor. The first thing that came in my mind was, I'm doing my best to be faithful. He got a big smile on his face and he walked away. That was it.
I love that. And you had said earlier that you weren't just running wild up there. You
No.
were
No, I
under
was
God's.
escorted.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what was that? Were you there for a specific purpose every time?
Some of it was to get understanding. There are times when you go up there and you come back with revelation. Sometimes I would go and get a specific message for somebody. There are times when I go there and the messages that I minister from the pulpit, that's where they come from.
That's amazing. How many times have you been? Is it every time you worship?
I really don't. It's not every time, no. But I've lost count.
But it seems like it had something to do with worship because your friend Greg also said,
Yeah.
sometimes I come here when I worship.
There are times when I'm caught up there and in the middle of the night. There are times when I'm caught up there in the middle of the day. There are times I've been caught up there when I was driving.
Time doesn't exist up there. So
No, it
when
does
you're
not.
driving, it's not like you're missing time. So you can feel like you've been
And I
there a
don't
really
understand
long
how that
time.
works.
Yeah.
I don't understand how I can be driving
Yeah.
and that happen and I come back and I'm still driving.
Were you in the same place? Like nothing had changed?
No.
Oh, so you were like
Miles down the road.
Okay.
I mean,
You're
it's just
thinking, how did
really,
we get here?
yeah, it's way different.
Do we have houses up there?
We have mansions. This is the thing about heaven. You realize that everything that's in here is true. It's not metaphor.
Amazing.
It's not metaphor. Jesus said, I have loved you with an everlasting love. That is not a metaphor. What he's trying to communicate there, I have loved you with an unconditional, unending love.
And none of us know what that really means when you think about
Until
it.
you get revelation. When you get revelation, and like I said before, revelation sometimes comes as a package. It has to unwrap itself.
And it takes time to digest sometimes.
Yeah.
You said you were escorted by whom?
Angel.
What do they look
These
like?
guys are, I remember my first angelic visitation scared me to death.
Yeah, because you think Cupid flying around on a in a cloud.
There are no naked babies with wings.
Okay, I'm glad we cleared that. What did they look like? What I mean, you were scared.
These
so are they
things are
scary?
incredibly massive, huge. They're the most handsome men you ever see.
They look like men, these
Okay.
angels. Okay. Are they?
They are incredibly huge.
They do have
They
wings,
are-
though.
I'm going to make a differentiation. Not all angels have wings.
Okay.
The Bible talks about the seraphim.
hmm
They have 6 wings.
All coming out of their back?
Yes. Now these things are massive.
Okay.
The cherub have 2. They're
cherubs
over
are
the mercy
ones-
seat.
Right.
They have 4. Okay. There's another variation angel there that have 2. And some angels don't have. Michael. I saw Michael.
You saw Michael.
I saw Michael. The Michael.
The Michael.
I saw Michael.
The archangel.
Yes, I saw Michael. And he doesn't have any wings. He's got red hair, though.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I got that backwards. Gabriel has the red hair. Michael's got the black hair.
Oh.
How about that?
You saw Gabriel too?
Yeah, Gabriel.
Oh my
First time I ever
goodness.
saw Gabriel was back in the 80s.
And they all look different. They have
They
different
all look
faces.
different, all different features.
That's-
Gabriel is a little bit taller than Michael. Everybody knows him as the archangel.
Yeah.
There's other archangels up there. Angels have a purpose and function.
What do they do?
It depends on what their job listing is.
What does an archangel do? What is Michael
They are over
and
other
Gabriel
angels.
doing?
It's a structure,
Yeah.
right? Kind of like what we have here. We
Right.
have authority, and that kind of
Government.
thing. If things need to shift over a nation,
Yeah.
Michael will lead that, and Gabriel will hearken that. A lot of times when God begins to release stuff, he'll start releasing it through the angels. People don't know they're hearing them.
So they're all over America right now, I
Yeah,
guess.
they're all over the world,
Yeah.
right? That realm is very full of activity all the time. It's never
It's
a
busy.
dull moment.
And you're saying in heaven there are things that we're doing. It's not like we're just going to laze around
No.
on a cloud, because that's what people
You're not
think.
going to sit there and play a harp
Yeah.
play a harp for eons of time.
That's
That's
so
not what
interesting.
heaven is.
So there are jobs for us too.
Well, I
up
wouldn't
there?
say it's jobs. Because you're out of time, there's no such thing as boredom.
I don't fully grasp that, because people here, it's like, okay, what's next? And eating after the fast that we did takes up a lot of your time. And I found myself bored a lot
No,
without the food.
there's no boredom. When you go there, it's like you just got there, regardless of how long you've been there. Okay.
And is God omnipresent in heaven?
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
His presence is everywhere. He's on his throne.
He is on his throne.
Yeah, he's on his throne. But his presence, the power that emanates from him, the glory that emanates from him is everywhere. And it's what, for lack of a better term, it's what powers heaven. Everything that has ever existed, everything that has ever been created, the building blocks all come from him. And we see that plainly in Genesis, right?
He's like the sun, so to speak, just
Yeah,
to bring
he's
everything around.
everything. There's nothing that's been written. There's nothing that's been imagined. There's nothing, as far as a holy imagination, there's nothing that has been spoken under the unction of the Spirit that does not come from him.
I have a million more questions about heaven, but I wanna wrap, because it's such a high note and
Yeah.
it's just such an amazing story. Pat, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I hope it answered some of your questions at home about heaven, that we have a lot to look forward to. We'll see you at the after talk. Thank you. The amount of times I said wow in this episode, I'm pretty sure it's over 50. I'm so sorry. I've now banned that word from my vernacular. Anyways, if you can get past that, this is one of my favorite episodes, because I just recently actually lost a great aunt whom I was really close to, and I never got to say goodbye. I remember it haunted me because she was in Indonesia and just, life got busy. And every time I thought I should call, talk to her, I ended up procrastinating a little, and I didn't end up seeing her for the last 10 years in person, I think, even though we would talk over the phone or FaceTime sometimes. And sometimes I think she's still there and I forget. I have to remind myself that she's no longer on this earth, And those of you out there who have lost loved ones or beloved pets recently, I hope this episode brought you such great comfort. I remember the feeling of just being sort of inconsolable and wanting to numb myself. But when I watch this episode, there's such hope, because it gave me something to envision and picture. Sometimes we think of heaven as so surreal that we can't imagine it. And guess what? If we can't imagine it, then it just doesn't feel real, right? But when I listened to Pat, it became so real in my mind. So now every time I miss my great aunt, I'm picturing her on streets of gold that's kind of see-through and yet very colorful, amongst gentle streams of living water, probably with my dog, whom I also lost 3 years ago. Please also share this video with anyone that you think might need it. And for those of you wondering if your loved ones are in heaven, I can't tell you for sure, But know that God is a God of mercy. And I've heard so many testimonies of unbelievers being pulled out of the pits of hell last minute because they called out to Jesus. 2 Peter 3:9 says that he wants none to perish. So if you're to believe in anything, believe in that. I want to do something a little different today to close, and I want to pray with you out there watching who have loved ones still yet to be saved. Let's pray for them together. God, you know every single soul out there watching this, praying for their loved ones, for you want none to perish as you are so merciful. We pray that the scales come off their eyes and command their ears to hear, to be open to seeing your supernatural love for them. Even in their darkest times, I pray that you pierce through their darkness. We have faith that you are working on their hearts as we speak, Father, and we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. If you need a prayer, comment below. We'd love to personally pray for you. See you at the next one.